The M114 155 mm howitzer was a towed howitzer developed and used by the United States Army. It was first produced in 1942 as a medium artillery piece under the designation of 155 mm howitzer M1. It saw service with the U.S. Army during World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, before being replaced by the M198 howitzer. The gun was also used by the armed forces of many nations. In some countries, the M114A1 still remains in service. Development. A new carriage was under development for much of the 1930s for the existing World War I-era M114 155 mm howitzer, which was a license-built French cannon de 155C model 1917 Schneider until 1939, when it was realized that it did not seem logical to put a new carriage underneath an obsolete howitzer. So development began anew with a carriage designed to be used for either the 155 mm howitzer or the 4.7-inch, 120 mm, gun. This was completed by May 15, 1941, when the howitzer M1 on the Carriage M1 was standardized. The howitzer itself differed from the older model by a lengthened barrel of 20 calibers and a new breech mechanism. Uniquely, it was the sole slow cone interrupted screw mechanism to enter U.S. service after 1920. This meant that two separate movements were necessary to open the breech, versus the single movement of the steep cone mechanism that simultaneously rotated and withdrew the breech. The M1A1 was redesignated as the M114A1 in 1962. Carriage variants. The Carriage was also used by the 4.5-inch gun M1. It went through a number of minor changes over time. The original Warner electric brakes were replaced by Westinghouse air brakes on the M1A1. Both the M1 and M1A1 carriages used a mid-axle firing pedestal that was extended by a ratchet mechanism. The M1A2 replaced the ratchet with a screw jack system and also modified the traveling lock. The M1A1E1 carriage was intended for use in jungle and muddy terrain and replaced the wheels of the M1A1 with a freewheeling tracked suspension, but the project was terminated after VJ Day without having reached production. The T9 and T10 carriages were projects using low-grade steel alloys that were cancelled when no longer needed. The T16 was a lightweight carriage using high-grade steel that was estimated to save some 1,200 pounds, 540 kilograms. Work began in July 1945 and continued after the war, although nothing seems to have come from it. A mid-1960s variant was the 155 mm XM123 and M123A1 auxiliary propelled howitzers. The XM123 was produced by American Machine and Foundry and outfitted with two 20 horsepower air-cooled engines produced by Consolidated Diesel Corporation, driver's seat, steering wheel, and guide wheel on the left trail, allowing it to be more rapidly emplaced when detached from the prime mover, while the XM123A1 provided a single 20 horsepower motor with electric steering. The extra weight on the left trail displaced the howitzer after each round was fired, requiring it to be realigned, and the project was abandoned. The concept was copied from the Soviet 85 mm SD-44 auxiliary propelled anti-tank gun developed in 1954 and used by airborne forces. Self-propelled mounts. The non-howitzer was experimentally mounted on a lengthened chassis of the M5 light tank. The resulting vehicle received the designation 155 mm howitzer motor carriage T64. A single prototype was built before the T64 project was abandoned in favor of T64A1, based on the M24 Chaffee light tank chassis. This was eventually adopted as the M41 howitzer motor carriage and saw action in the Korean War. Towards the end of the Korean War, the U.S. Army replaced the M41 self-propelled howitzer with the M44 self-propelled howitzer. Ammunition. The gun fired separate loading, bagged charge ammunition, with up to 7 different propelling charges, from 1, the smallest, to 7, the largest. Muzzle velocity, range, and penetration in the tables below are for maximum charge in form of complete M4A1 propelling charge. Operators. Current operators: Afghanistan, Argentina, Tunisia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Brazil, Cameroon, Cyprus, Chile, Ecuador, Iran, South Korea, Laos, Lebanon, Morocco, Pakistan, 144 in service with the Pakistan Army, Peru, Philippines, Portugal, Taiwan, Thailand, in reserve, Turkey, Uruguay, Venezuela, Vietnam, Indonesia. Former operators: Austria, Belgium, Khmer Republic, Canada, Croatia, Denmark, France, Greece, Israel, Italy, Japan, Jordan, Libya, Norway, Netherlands, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, Spain, United States, Republic of Vietnam, Yugoslavia, passed on to successor states. Type howitzer. Place of origin United States. Service history. In service 1942 present. Used by sea operators. Wars: World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Cambodian Civil War, Laotian Civil War, Lebanese Civil War. Production history. Designed 1939–1941. Manufacturer: Rock Island Arsenal, U.S. Produced 1941–1953. No build 10,300 plus. Variants: none. Specifications. Weight: travel, 5,800 kilograms, 12,800 pounds. Combat, 5,600 kilograms, 12,300 pounds. Length: travel, 7.315 m, 20 feet. Barrel length: bore, 3.564 m, 11 feet 8 in, L/23. Overall, 3.79 m, 12 feet 5 in, L/24.5. Width: travel, 2.438 m, 8 feet. Height: travel, 1.8 m, 5 feet 11 in. Crew: 11. Shell separate loading bagged charge. Caliber 155 mm, 6.1 in. Breech slow cone interrupted screw. Recoil hydropneumatic system. Carriage split trail. Elevation -2 degrees/+63 degree. Traverse 25 degrees left or right. Rate of fire: burst, 4 rpm. Sustained, 40 rph. Muzzle velocity 563 m/s, 1847 feet/s. Maximum firing range 14,600 m, 16,000 yd.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.